all doing today? Today is Wednesday, but we are recording this. So if you missed it once, you can catch it again or maybe listen to the whole thing. My name is Jenny Dial, and I am I guess I'm the creator and founder of Bizy Book Store. And I have a website of that name, and we do Facebook and Instagram. And I'm going to be doing a series of interviews with authors, indie authors that are out there that I've met over my years of working with publishing and doing design work, and any other authors that are interested in getting their book out in the marketplace. So today I have with me a wonderful lady. She didn't just write one book, but she wrote three books. It's a series. It's about a young woman named Lizzie, and we refer to it as Lizzie's Journey. And she's going to talk with us a little bit about her books and just tell us about her books and her I guess her muse, where she got the idea and how her journey went. So no further ado, I'm going to introduce Katie Wood to you. There might be a little discrepancy on her books. It's called A. Katie Wood. That's her plume de nom. That's what she goes by on her books, but we just call her Katie. So Katie, welcome. Nice to have you on the show. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Jen.
Awesome. So I know you have copies of your books with you. If you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit of background of your books, what made you decide to write a book? Have you always wanted to write a book, or is this something that you're like, oh, okay, I can do this, and then voila, 3 books later? How did you start?
I think I start by getting an idea. Sometimes it's a reaction to maybe other books I've read, or just a view in general. And I have to really be driven and focused to do it. And if I think of an idea, it doesn't work, I put it away and I think of an idea that does work. So Lizzie's Journey actually worked. So that's kind of a little bit the drive to start writing these books.
Did it well, first of all, so have you written before, like tried to do another concept or idea and you just couldn't swing it? It just wasn't.
Actually, I did write another book about 5, 6 years ago,
Mhm.
and it is a very, very good book, very different from the Lizzie books. But I do need to go back and do. It's off print right now,
Mhm.
and I need to go back and do editing, and it'll be better than ever.
Have you found that after doing Lizzie's Journey that you can go back to the first work and you're going to make some major changes
Oh
to
yeah,
the process?
yeah. I figure after about another 300,000 words, you better catch up on something. Yeah, I've learned an awful lot in doing these three. So it'll be a bit easier and a little bit more fun to go back to the other one.
Well, we'll like to have that in print as well. That will be nice to have 4 books on your bookshelf. So your subject matter is a little different than a lot of the novels. It is about a young woman, obviously. It's about Lizzie. So give us a little brief synopsis of what Lizzie's journey is about.
Um, Basically, because Lizzie is Amish at the very beginning, which is a very different culture. It's one that I'm very familiar with. I grew up Mennonite, and I believe my grandparents were probably a type of Amish, beachy Amish. So, and I have a lot of ancestry of that. So I come from a different perspective. It's um, a lot of Amish stories, especially fiction, romance, are, in my view, extremely idealistic. They make for a good book, but I just wanted to put a different perspective on it. So it is essentially the Amish girl that walks out the door because she's angry and rebellious.
Mhm.
It's her journey into a foreign world, um, about the people that help her. Uh, Her main idea on leaving is she wants to get out of this situation. But the second very prominent idea for Lizzie is she wants education. So
Oh, okay.
her journey is going, and that's her burning desire. Um, if there's any slightly similar genre of this book, would be autobiographies of Amish women who have left, and in most of them, their desire is education.
That's fascinating. There's been a couple of TV shows um, where they show the rebellious teenager and she
Mm-hmm.
goes into town. I think we've
Mm-hmm.
seen those on cable where she goes to town and she has her hair cut and she's trying makeup and things like that. So the fact that you're bringing in the education aspect of it is interesting because I don't think many people get that from, when we think of rebellion, especially with teenagers, that's not normally the impetus for them to leave.
Right, right.
Oh,
So if with in Lizzie's stories, if there would ever be a good rebellion, Lizzie has it. Because but she does later on in the story, she does take that anger and rebellion, and it's not exactly quenched, even though she's reached her goals. But it would be a good rebellion, and she's not her main. She's interested in this new world, but she still has that goal of education and wanting to know more. So her rebellion, like I say, does take a good turn.
do you carry her? So the Amish are known for certain values,
Mhm,
not just religious values, but their lifestyle,
mhm.
how they conduct their life in their communities. So did you bring that into? I don't want to give you too much of the book away, but does Lizzie use that? I guess would be a better way to ask it. Does Lizzie use that background to help her through her?
Yeah, it definitely does help her. She spends the first year before she even goes to college. She gets her GED and takes her SAT, and she lives with. She has surrogate parents, Mennonite, that really help her and show her. Um, and she has to sift through that background of things she wants to throw away and things to keep.
Ah,
So she gets good advice on you have to make that decision. Some things you want to keep, some you want to throw away. Excuse me. But she does keep the massive self discipline. She does keep the work ethic. She does keep, especially in the foreign world, she's quiet, she's listening, she's learning.
learning.
So she's not, and she wouldn't be what you call openly rebellious at all. She's very cautious, but she learns when she starts going to college and working on her goals. She learns that, boy, that work ethic is really good,
Important.
and that self discipline is really good, and guarding your speech is really good. So she really keeps the good things and sort of discards the unnecessary minutiae of rules.
I think as I'm listening to you talk about it, it's funny because as a young Amish woman, she would be considered very rebellious and
Mm-hmm.
probably stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
But then when she transcends into the quote new world, she's actually more okay. I'm gonna just ease into this. I'm not gonna make waves, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Personally, because she's trying to absorb all of the new stuff that she's experiencing. So
Yeah, a big part is being excuse me, unobtrusive maybe would be the word
yeah,
of going in, and She doesn't really tell anyone she's Amish. Eventually, people guess. Of course, if you live in Pennsylvania or the eastern, north and southeastern U.S., they eventually catch that. But she, it's just a part of. She's so focused on learning things that she keeps her own behavior really under very cautious and under wraps, so to speak.
Interesting. Well, show me the first title. So, she does have three titles. It's the same. It's the same story. Well, before you do that, so did you plan on writing three?
No, I didn't.
No.
I actually had an outline with this book, which was probably a good idea, but I have a hard time. I can't finish the book until it's finished. The story has to be
Right.
finished. So it ended up three because I just kept writing and more things happened. And of course, there's not every detail of the book. The time span of the three books is about 20 years.
Oh, okay.
So the first part is a lot of year to year, maybe month to month. But then as she eases into her adult life, we start, you can pretty much see without doing such detail in it. But I just started writing and I found out, boy, it's kind of long. And I got a lot of help on that. You might, first it was two, and well, maybe you should do three. So,
Well, as an author myself, I do children's books, but um, I have to kind of work with an illustrator, um, which I which I found a lovely one. But I have to kind of sometimes. We had a conversation about my second book. She put a hat on one of my characters,
mm-hmm,
and I didn't write a hat in. And so I had to go back and we kind of went back and forth. I'm like, I don't know about the hat,
mm-hmm,
Um, but then I liked it. And so I had to go back into the script and add the hat because,
yeah,
it's a really important part of this character.
mm-hmm,
Um, and so I know what it's like. And I know there's classes. I don't know about you. I never took a class. I'm not a purist. I know you can go
mm-hmm,
to book clubs and you can go to writers' forums. You can do all these places on how to write, what to write, and I get all that. I'm not that kind of a person, and
mm-hmm,
I'm getting you're not that kind of a person either.
no,
You're probably a reader, right? You probably have a big old reader like me. Um, Before we started, everybody, Katie and I were talking about the fact that we're all about books these days, but we don't even get time to read for pleasure anymore.
very true.
We're writing and we're doing other things. So, did you have though a way? Like, do you have a certain time of day that you're better at writing? Like, I write. I can't write in the beginning. I can't wake up and write. I'm a night writer. I
Mm-hmm.
wait till everybody's asleep and I start pounding out the words. Is there a specific time of day? Is there some, not ritual, but is there some habit that you have that is helpful to your writing?
Um, well, when I first started writing these books, I was working part time in the mornings, so I would come and write in the afternoon. I think afternoon is probably my best time. Morning, my brain's not working quite so quick. And if it's too late, I'm too sleepy. So uh, afternoon is a good time. I need to write. I need a 2 hour block of uninterrupted time. And I always listen to music, and it's generally classical
Yeah,
or instrumental music without singing, just a
right.
nice background. If they sing, then I can't think. So,
I think there's ruminations too.
mm,
Um, my brain is always going, and
mm,
so sometimes, whatever I'm writing, if I'm just writing newsletters or something, and I think, gosh, I got to come up with content, and I've got nothing in the
mm-hmm,
morning. It like
yeah,
just disappears. But then as my day goes, it kind of pops back up and I can get into the groove. So
Mhm.
um, you're right. It's like in the morning I don't want to. I'd rather
Mm-mm.
do chores. I'd rather do things that are not thoughtful.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
I can do dishes and make bed, and I don't have to be brilliant.
There you go. Yeah.
So how about what was I going to ask you before I got off on another tangent? Um, so as you're writing, is there something like have you come up with like a what I call a scathingly brilliant idea, and then you wrote it and you started fleshing it out, then you're like, heck, that's not going to work.
Mhm.
Have you done that?
Yeah, on occasion I have. Yeah, you get a basic outline. You kind of think about in your brain, okay, what's she going, what is my character Lizzie going to do? And then how will she get there? And this type of thing. But on occasion, these books, I started out being a little too maybe negative towards the Amish.
uh,
That was kind of like I say, it was a reaction to the glorious good things, and I see things I've experienced that is much different than so I had to make it a much better, maybe unbiased, not be negative or brutal, and just kind of put out the certain issues that I wanted to make with them.
is that kind of so? I think that would be, um, you know, when you're an actor or an actress, you become that character.
Right.
Um, but as a writer, because the character and an actor that's written for you,
Mm-hmm.
so you have the good fortune of somebody telling you, look, this is what this character is.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's your character and you are creating it and you're that character's voice, you have to actually put yourself take away all your emotions or what you had
Mm-hmm.
thinking, you know, maybe not good about this person, but you have to give them a flesh out, right? Because she
Right.
probably loved her parents,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Yes.
but there was a strictness and probably things that she didn't like. She's
Mm-hmm.
young, and
Mm-hmm.
so there's a natural um, pushback, no matter what the parents are. And
Mm-hmm.
then you've experienced it, in a personal manner. So you have to kind of get rid of that and go to see what Lizzie's seeing.
Yeah, you really definitely do put yourself into the character. I've gone so bad that I call my daughter Lizzie, or whoever the other character is. So you're constantly in that character thing, and you don't. I think any author, you maybe if you personally know them, you will see their writing sometimes is them in
Yes.
a certain extent, but then in another way it can't be them. I mean, but you have to. I guess that's the imagination part, the
Yes.
creativity part, where you kind of know what she's doing, but she's not going to do everything maybe the way you would have done it. So you have to keep it in um, that thought process, I think.
Well, I think one of the biggest things for a new author, and you can tell me if this happened, is um, putting yourself out there, because whatever you write about, people are going to assume that either you've experienced it or you
Mm-hmm.
know about it. Like if you're writing a really hot and heavy, you know, historical romance,
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, can I put that out there? Can I do?" You're really, you know, especially to your family and your friends, other people,
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to know. But that's why I didn't write a novel, because I'm like, you know, I'm going to stick with the kid stuff. That way, I don't tell all my secrets and my sins. But
There is a certain amount of that. My first book being, it would probably be a historical. It was World War II, maybe a romance, but it was a really odd one. But
those are fun.
yeah,
Put
but you
that out
put,
there.
you know, kind of in that book, I really put out I think might have been shocking to some people, which is it's entirely out of my realm of experience. So
Right.
that book was extremely creative. Whereas Lizzie's story is very creative, but it's very close to home
Okay.
as far as her thought processes and essentially the legalism of the religious legalism of the Amish.
So you
So,
didn't feel like there was a part that you wrote that you're like, I don't know if I should put that in, or
um, not really.
good.
It had a huge. I suppose the similarity between Lizzie's story, perhaps, and myself to a certain extent, because I dealt with some legalism growing up. Um,
Explain that, would you, to the audience that doesn't understand that
okay,
particular term?
the Amish in the story of Lizzie's journey is a religious sect with lots and lots and lots of rules, and rules equal legalism. It could be government bureaucracy would be the same thing.
We
Got
know
one rule. You have one rule, you need a whole bunch more.
more.
But this is, it's almost, and many religious sects have these. There's endless different ones. But the Amish are very, they wrote the book on the rules. And they kind of pick and choose, at least from a biblical standpoint. And they change. Amish do change. Wouldn't think so. It's been around for about 400 years, and I go back into the history of it. But there are changes. But that's kind of the gist of these books. Is she maybe doesn't know the word for her rebellion at the beginning. It's against rules, but it's a spiritual legalism, and her journey is getting rid of that, but yet she keeps good biblical standards of what she grew up with. But then she gets to understand the gospel of grace,
Got it.
essentially.
Got it. And I know, just from reading other things and your book, um, it varies from family to family sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
An older generation may be much more strict and less, you know, um, able to deal with the changes.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some guys, some parts that are fence sitters. They have to
Mm-hmm.
go out. Obviously they're industrious, and they look to feed themselves and create
Mm-hmm.
businesses in the modern world. So it's got to be very confusing. And there's no head person.
Mm-mm.
There's no head of the following. So um, whoever is kind of the most aggressive or the most
Mm-hmm.
person ability to take charge is the one that's going to set the rules. Correct.
Correct, and they vary greatly. Amish are all over the U.S. There's about probably approximately, I would say 400,000 in the U.S. and Canada. So they vary from state to state. They vary from community to community. You can have the old order, which we're familiar with, horse and buggy, and then you can have another sect that is even more strict, and then you can have some that are a little bit less strict.
Strict.
but but part of the difficulty with my book, I mean, it is about the Amish, but it isn't.
Isn't.
And once the character, the first chapter is very Amish. You see the setting and her dysfunctional family, but once she walks out the door, the Amish disappear for almost 14 years.
Wow.
So this is her journey into a foreign world, a different world, and then she comes back later and has more contact with them, and there's a good reconciliation with her parents and with her siblings, but they weren't really the real problem. But they do come back in her life in later years, 14 or 15 years later, and essentially they are, maybe the word is redeemed, at least in her view, because they do have very good biblical things. It's just that they got sidetracked in the bushes, I think. So they
Well,
are redeemed at the end, but this is not day to day Amish because, like I say, when she walks out, they're gone.
they're gone.
But
Well,
you,
it's interesting because um, we expect everyone to always be aware of certain things, and
mhm,
you've lived isolated and in your own um, world, so to
mhm,
speak. That one brave person that steps out and
mhm,
finds that the sky is not going to fall, is able to kind of bring that light.
mhm,
May not change the person completely, but at least there can be an understanding of
mhm.
both sides, and that's a very cool thing to do. And um, she's a very low key hero.
Yeah, she is very low key. Just sticks with it, keeps living each day, day by day. Doesn't worry too far ahead, but has her big goals. But there is an acceptance of her family to her later on, 14
Right,
years later. And Amish don't, many leave. It's not unusual. It is unusual, but it's not that rare. But the Amish don't drag you back. Do you see what I'm saying?
right. You have to be
You
hardcore.
are given that freedom to make your choice.
Right,
And most choose not to because the price is too high.
right.
But Lizzie chose, and then you can see 15 years later, when she goes back to see her folks, and they're very accepting of her. Um, her mother says, "You done well, Lizzie."
Oh, right.
Partly because she became a nurse, and that is a little higher esteem than probably most anything else in their minds. But they're very accepting of her. And then actually, the character Lizzie suddenly realizes how much her parents loved her to
Yeah,
let her go.
yeah.
And, they didn't force her back. And obviously, when you leave, you're on one side and they're on the other side.
Right.
And there won't be, you just can't come together because it's too different. But there can be a real toleration, maybe,
Well,
of each
that's the
other.
bridge. That's the we love each other. We love our family members, but we don't always agree,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't always do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes we have more in common with a stranger
Mm-hmm.
than our family. But we almost always, I can't, nothing's ever for sure, but um, you know, just because you have a strict family or a family that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't do it the
Mm-hmm.
way you do it doesn't mean for complete disconnect. So um, this is a great this is a great story, just from the standpoint of it is a journey. All of our lives are a journey,
Mm-hmm.
and you just don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen at the end, so you got to keep going. There's just
Mm-hmm.
no other way to say it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Let me see the covers. I want everyone to see the covers of your book.
Okay,
First book,
this is the first book. We can see it.
Time to Lose.
Time to Lose, and that's her journey leaving.
Okay,
So she's losing a lot of things there, but she's also gaining. But this is the main. This is the great breakaway, I guess you could say.
that's where she makes her getaway.
Yes, yes.
So
Um,
book two.
that's the first book, and the second book is Time to Gain.
Okay,
If
so I
you
can
can
find the cover that she's
see,
she's
mortarboard.
on her.
Yep, graduates from college, starts her adult life essentially,
Okay.
and so she's gained so many things in this book. And then the last book is Time to Keep,
Oh, I like that one.
and that's where you see her career, you see how she deals with people. She meets a really good man, they get married. And of course, all three of these books are taken from the verse in Ecclesiastes, time for everything.
Time for everything.
Yeah.
Time for everything. Um, so we're going to wrap it up in just a minute. Tell everybody. where they can buy your books, where they can find you.
Okay. They are on Amazon, and you have to type in Lizzie's Journey. Um, if you don't, if you put in a time to lose or a time to keep, just one book will come up. But
Okay.
Lizzie's Journey will bring all three books up.
Okay.
And then I do have a website on www.akatiewood.com, and that is you can buy them there also, and that's a little more informative. I tell you more of kind of why I wrote it, my background, this type of thing.
Okay. And also, Katie's going to be joining our platform at Bizy Bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be able to find her books there. She's going to have a little store there. And so, Katie, I'm so happy you joined us today. Your story is fascinating. I think your books are going to do really well. I'm hoping that we can get you out there, and I want to see the other book. I'm interested.
It's coming. It's coming.
Okay,
I got,
perfect.
even when it wasn't super edited real good, it frankly, in my view, it is the best book I will ever write.
Oh,
It was super, super, super good.
now you're
But
really pushing the envelope.
you just have to wait. Hopefully this year
You
I'll.
know what? It's so funny. It's such a writing. I've done a lot of things in my life, a lot of different crafts and a lot of different design techniques, all kinds of stuff. But writing is really not easy. Even if you're good with words, even if you're good, you have a grasp of your language,
Mhm.
uh, structuring and making things come around and putting things together. And especially if you're talking, a couple 100,000 words. Um, so the fact that you came out of the shoot with three, even though you did one, the three, it's amazing.
Mhm.
And I want to thank you so much for appearing on the show. I hope you had a good time, and let's see what Katie's got for us next. But look for her books, Amazon, on her website, akatiewoods.com, and find her on Busy Bookstore. Okay. All right, Katie. We'll talk to you soon again.
Thank you so much, Jen.
All right. Take care.
Uh huh.